This video is sponsored by my favorite website creator, Squarespace, the best place to go when you want to get a domain or create a gorgeous website or an online store. So, you lovely people, tomorrow is my birthday. Another year, and oh man, this one has been a biggie. Buying a flat, renovating a flat, and getting a book deal. So it's been a year with a lot of sort of pinch me moments for me, but it has also been so hella stressful. So a hectic, frantic, exhilarating, but exhausting kind of year, you know? How has your year been? Stressful or calm, boring or sad or happy? Whichever type of year that you've had, I have to tell you, this next upcoming year is going to be such a good one. I can feel it. I think it might actually be the best one yet. Well, we'll see, you know, 1 year from now when I'm sitting here doing another things I wish I knew in my 20s video, because these have kind of become a bit of a tradition now, haven't they? And they do make me feel like, you know, birthday girl kind of mood. So here we are, 12 things that I wish someone had told me when I was in my 20s. First of all, mistakes are a good thing. You will need them later for your memoir. I often actually feel like the mistakes that I make are like turning points in my life, where I do like a pivot and head down in a new direction. So I think that we shouldn't try to avoid making mistakes. I think that as long as we learn from them, they're totally worth it. The only true mistakes are the ones that we don't learn from and keep repeating again and again, you know? Because mistakes are only good as long as they're fresh one. No one will want to read your memoir if it doesn't include some like juicy, dramatic, stupid decisions. If someone tells you it's just a phase, take it as a compliment, because it means that you're open-minded and like brave enough to try new things. Not all of them will stick, and yes, some of them might be just a phase, but so what? Better to have many phases where you try living a different way than just going for generic and boring and the tried and tested. But also, some of those phases will at one point cease to be just a phase and become, you know, your way of life. I don't know how many times that I've heard that going vegan or choosing not to have kids is just a phase and that I will grow out of it, or that I will change my mind when I get older. 15 years later, I'm still vegan, and like having children, one good thing about turning 30 is that people stopped saying to me that I would change my mind once I get older. So guys, let's have many phases. Some of them will stick. Speaking of faces, not having eyebrows and like my platinum blonde buzz cut, those were two fun phases for sure. And that's how I feel about like style and fashion. How you dress today should be utterly weird to you in 7 years' time. If you're not cringing when you see 10-year-old photos, you're doing it wrong. You're being too safe. Do I cringe when I see some of the old outfits that I used to wear? Sure, but also I love remembering how fucking cool I used to feel in those outfits back in the day. Another thing that makes me feel fucking cool is that in less than 2 months from now, my novel will be out. Can you believe it? And you know, it is my birthday tomorrow, so if you did want to give me a birthday gift this year, the thing that will make me most happy is if you pre-order my book. It's so helpful with pre-orders because it makes the bookshops, you know, order larger quantities for their stores, so it's like a snowball effect. And so far, my publisher is saying that we have really brilliant pre-order numbers because of, you know, you guys. So seriously, I'm so hella grateful to every one of you who has already pre-ordered. You are such patrons of the art, aren't you? No, but seriously, I appreciate it so much. So pre-order links are in the description, worldwide shipping, go get it. I mean, if you want to. I will love you anyways, of course. So I hear from so many of you saying that you're feeling lonely and like an outsider. So many, in fact, that I've come to think that everyone feels alone once in a while. Everyone worries that nobody likes them from time to time, especially when hungover or tired or in like a sensitive period of life, you know? So it's not you, it's like human nature. We are nervous creatures worrying about not being included in the pack, you know? But I think like we're so scared of rejection that we often don't reach out to people and actively try to become their friends. And yes, rejection is horrible. It's a horrible feeling. But when I look at the most important people in my life, so many of my closest relationships have happened because either I or them just reached out. So one of my best friends, for example, actually came up to me on the street and asked to take my photo because she liked my style. And now we've been friends for like 12 years or something. So I mean, how rom-com is that? And that makes me think like, how many wonderful relationships have I missed out on simply by not walking up to strangers and asking to take their photo, you know? Okay, I'm not 100% sure about this, but I think that adulthood, it might be a myth. I just asked David this morning if he feels like an adult, and immediately he just said, no, he doesn't. I don't either. I mean, we have a goddamn mortgage now. It doesn't get much more adult than that. And we've been together forever and we've built a decently successful business. We have an accountant, for God's sake. And still I feel like just a happy kid who's like slightly surprised at how settled life has gotten all of a sudden. So the reason I'm not completely sure that adulthood is a myth is that we don't have kids. So when you're a parent, maybe that changes because you have like an actual child to take care of. All you parents out there watching, tell me, do you feel like an adult yet? Or any of you child-free people out there, do you feel like adults? I'm dying to know because I sure as hell don't. So I strongly feel that money worries is for later. In your 20s, you're allowed to experiment. Because I mean, at least if I look at myself, back when we had almost no money for years, we would scrape together just enough money for rent and food and that was it. So never going out for like a drink or a takeaway coffee or affording nice things. It was like strangely liberating, that's the word for it. So don't get me wrong, it was awful too and like really stressful at times, but I do think that having money problems once in your life is healthy and it will make you like appreciate a steady salary so much more once you get it. I'm still just so grateful and happy to be able to afford eating out or flying with British Airways instead of Ryanair, you know. Because of me struggling in my 20s, I'm so appreciative of all the small things that money can buy, like beautiful details in my home or a nice jacket or the organic kombucha in my fridge or whatever. I'm so not blasé about money. I appreciate every goddamn pound. Another thing is that I feel like if you're one of those people who suspect that you might be happier living a less conventional life, like having a creative job or living in another country or whatever, now is a time to test that theory, because the truth is, the more settled you are, it will be harder to motivate yourself to upend everything. So when you have like a mortgage or a partner or maybe even children and like dogs, I'm not saying that it's impossible to uproot yourself, but it's definitely harder. So you're never as free and bouncy as in your 20s. Go for it. I made a fool of myself so many times in my 20s, just like starting out as an influencer. I don't even know all the stupid things that I've said publicly on YouTube or Instagram or whatever. Also just like saying the wrong thing or behaving badly or being too drunk or too happy or too honest. Of course, just like everyone else, I've embarrassed myself aplenty. Like that one time I shook hands with Kendall Jenner without realizing it was her. Remember that? Oh God. So okay, having like slight face blindness does probably mean that I'm a little bit more embarrassing than the next person, but whatever. I feel like if I'm not embarrassing myself, I'm being too reserved and like not pushing the boundaries enough. It's a sad life, if you ask me, to worry so much about not making a fool of yourself that you never really being yourself, you know? I mean, I for sure would never have become an influencer or written a novel if I was scared of embarrassing myself. Again, we need like the cringy Kendall Jenner stories for our memoirs, for comic relief, if nothing else. Oh, another big one. I think that it's totally okay to take detours that never lead anywhere, because we learn from the experience anyway. So if you're interested in something, go study it, or like take a gap year, or learning a new language, or having a super hot romantic relationship with someone that you already know that you won't marry. Yes, it might be a detour, sure, but like everything is knowledge and every experience becomes like a particle of who you are as a person. So I think that if I'm trying something out because I feel passionate or curious about it, it can never be a waste of time, no matter if you're in your 20s or 40s or 80s. Okay, how about this one? If you want a dream job that's super hard to get and it's very unlikely that you will ever get it, I'm talking about the childhood, like astronaut, rock star, dolphin saver career dreams, why not just go for it anyway? Yes, chances are you probably won't be the next, I don't know, Olympic gold medalist in breaststroke, but then again, you might be, because someone is, so why not you? So my point is just like, there's plenty of time to settle down with a normal career in your 30s or 40s, and there's a risk that we regret not at least trying for that dream job. That's what I'm saying. Oh, I think this next one is something that we really don't talk about enough. Bad relationships. I feel like we're taught to like never give up, and that, you know, divorce is a bad thing and we shouldn't be quitters or whatever. But I just totally disagree. If a relationship is making us feel bad about who we are, if there is like meanness or harshness, just get out. There are plenty of people around who won't treat you badly. You're allowed to call it quits. And yes, respecting your elders is nice and all, but just because we respect them doesn't mean that we have to listen to them. They have just as little idea of what they're talking about as we do, so like no one should decide how you live your life other than you yourself. And they might say that you're making a mistake, and maybe you are making a mistake, but that will just lead us back to my first point. Making mistakes is good. You will need them for your memoir. So thank you guys again for hanging out with me today, and for all the birthday love, and for pre-ordering the book. Give me a like and click subscribe if you haven't yet, and see you next week already. Another year, we've made it, and like I said, this next one is going to be the best one yet. I can totally feel it. Do you want to create a beautiful site, maybe start your own blog? If so, you should definitely do it with Squarespace. They have great blogging tools to share your stories, photos and videos to make it easy to reach your audience. You can also auto-post your content to Twitter, Facebook or Tumblr, and simply schedule your posts for them to be properly tagged, and the descriptions and titles will show up correctly. You can of course add your social media accounts to your site so that it's easy for your readers to find you everywhere. Squarespace also have great traffic analytics so that you can see how many people are visiting your site, how long they're staying for, where they're coming from and what they're interested in, like fashion, books and maybe interior design, for example. So what are you waiting for? Go get your free trial today at squarespace.com, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/jennymustard to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Puss puss and happy birthday to me!